While we're hanging on here and waiting, I'll show you this. If you have not read, the HeartMath Solution, this is Howard's first book that he co-authored with Doc Childre and Donna Beach. So great, 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 groundbreaking information. And then the newer one, which, I don't know, what is the copyright on this one? Should have looked that up, and now, of course, I won't be able to see it without my glasses. Oh, 2016, more recent. Heart Intelligence. Also great, great book. Talks a lot about heart-brain. So if you haven't had a chance to read either one of these or both of these, go read these. It's pretty phenomenal. What I love about this one is the font is readable for my old eyes. Really causes us to have to rethink our creativity, the true nature of our creativity, the nature of how we connect with each other, and really sort of, I think, forces us to look at the science of, we'll call it love, since it's February and it's Valentine's Day and it's Heart Month, and understanding that the nature of love is an energy that binds us and connects us in, a very powerful, scientifically proven way. So, good. Good. Yay. All right. Awesome. Howard, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry about the confusion on the time. I know we were sort of back and forth on this interview during the course of the week, and looks like I had the time wrong. I was coming in to get started, but I was an hour late. So I don't know how much time we have today, but I'm certainly here, and we'll do everything I can to give everybody a good experience.
Good. No, thank you. And thank you so much for being here. And I have been flashing your books for the last 45 minutes, or actually not that long, last 30 minutes. And we have actually some people have been asking me questions about HeartMath that I'm going to defer to you, because
sure,
I was just making stuff up in response.
Oh, good.
I was using my quasi-heart intelligence. But let me just formally introduce you. So you guys, this is Howard Martin, who has kindly joined us here. He is the co-author of the HeartMath Solution, and also of this newer book. This is 2016, Heart Intelligence. He's also the executive vice president of HeartMath, and he's on the steering committee, and he is, and this is the part I really want to talk about today, he is the founder of the Global Coherence Initiative. Is that correct? Is that the right title for you?
No, one of the founders and one of the leaders, steering committee members, et cetera, of it. Yeah.
Good. So, Howard, you have been with us in a previous class where you were incredibly generous and shared with us information about heart coherence, and I know we're really kind of continuing a dialogue about heart coherence and HeartMath, but since some of the people who are on with us today were not part of that program, I did want to start just briefly and have you explain to us what is heart coherence, and then I really want to sort of continue our dialogue about the Global Coherence Initiative, and I want to even put a little edge to it since it's Valentine's Day and we're all thinking about love. How can we, or what can we do, at least in your mindset and in your theories and with your research, how can we create peace on this planet?
Okay. You ask a lot of questions all at once, don't you?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I'm from Texas.
Yeah. Okay. So from everything from what is coherence to how do we create peace on the planet, and then the Global Coherence Initiative in the middle. So I can cover all that, not a problem.
Okay, good.
First, let me say, first, welcome to everybody who's listening, and thank you very much for your time and your attention. And we had a great class back a month or so ago, and I mentioned that we should do this again, and so here we are. And let me explain for the folks that weren't here a little bit about what I'm talking about when I talk about coherence. I'll preface that by saying that here at HeartMath, we're about a heart-based system designed to empower people through these changing times, consisting of tools, techniques, and technology, and it's all underpinned with scientific research. And I think that's one of the aspects of HeartMath that provides a nice contribution to the movement overall. Mm-hmm. Is really giving some scientific empirical understanding to many of the things that we already believe. Now, we've researched extensively what we call heart-brain-body communication. And through our research and research done by others around the world, actually for over a long period of time, it's clearly seen that the heart is an information processing center in the body. It is not just pumping blood. It is sending information to the brain throughout the entire system. This information is critical to how we function as human beings. Now, without getting into what all that communication is, let me just say this. When it's all working together at the highest level, we enter a physiological and psychological state called coherence, which is what the answer to your question. Mm-hmm. There's a medical term for that. It's called psychophysiological coherence. Let me put this in layman's terms. What it means is that we enter a state where all the major body systems begin to synchronize to an ordered rhythmic beating pattern of the heart. That's systems like digestion, respiration, immune system response, hormonal response, and brain function, all syncing up with this rhythmic beating pattern of the heart, this sine wave-like speeding up and slowing down in our heart. When we hit that state, it's efficient. Less energy is being wasted. It's a high-performance state. All of our systems working together means that, our brain function is enhanced, our reaction speed time improves, our visual field is enhanced. Lots of things occur in this physiological coherent state. It's really good for our health, among other things. That state is triggered by and is accompanied by an emotional state, and that emotional state would be the experience of what we would call a regenerative or uplifting emotion. We're feeling appreciative, and it's genuine, more coherence. You feel care for someone, you feel love for someone, you feel compassion for our world and what's going on in the world. The body starts to become more coherent. When we're there, physiologically and psychologically, what it does, and this is where I'll take it beyond what we've proven scientifically into my own experience and belief. When all that syncs up that way, it opens us up for more spiritual connection. More of our higher self begins to download itself into our human. We go beyond our limitations, become something that's much larger than our ordinary self. It's when we have our most creative moments. It's when we have our most compassionate moments. It allows us to be, that we really are, not some personality assumed self. Coherence is a physiological measurement that we can make that corresponds to when that happens. And there's that link between what we believe, what many people have experienced, and why I said we do science. We want to quantify certain things. So it's very measurable and very understandable at a physiological and psychological level, and there's a great inference based on personal experience to a spiritual connection.
So are there any scientific parameters yet that allow you to measure the nature of increased spiritual connectivity by virtue of increasing this coherent state?
Well, one of the ways you can see it, and again, first of all, when I use the term spirit, people believe in higher self, spirit, that kind of concept. There's no measurement for that yet. You're trying to measure something from another dimension with instrumentation from this dimension, and nobody's built that bridge yet to really measure that. Believe me, we're working on it. But it's something it's a very different type of approach to science. But you can measure the effects of spirit in a sense. And one of those effects would be enhanced intuition. When we have an intuitive connection that is, that's measurable and understood. There's a study, you can go to our nonprofit site. HeartMath consists of two branches, a for-profit company, which is what I'm executive vice president of, and a nonprofit research and educational institution. The nonprofit site is where all the research information is housed. So that's the heartmath.org website. You can go there, you can find a research paper called The Physiology of Intuition. And it's published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, a published research study. And in that study, we were able to see some physiological occurrences that were happening in an intuitive context. The way the study worked was this. Test subjects were sitting in front of a computer, just like we are now. That computer was loaded with only picked to be either wired up from head to toe, a connection going on where they were getting brainwave measurements of various kinds, they were getting skin measurements, they were getting heart measurements of various kinds, heart rate, ability, a lot of different subject. So lots of people were test subjects, and what they would do, they'd come in, they'd be wired up, they'd sit in front of this computer, the computer would say, you know, press this button, you know, they press a button and the screen would stay blank for 6 seconds. After 6 seconds, a picture would show up on the screen that was either horrific. The computer was not programmed. The computer was on random selection, which means that the computer was making its own random selections of the pictures, not a programmed sequence of any kind. The screen would go blank for 10 seconds, then the prompt would come again, and delay picture shows up. Over and over and over. Now, when the data was analyzed, what they were able to see was pretty amazing. They were able to see that in many, many cases, the physiological response to the upcoming picture was occurring, in fact, 6 seconds before the picture actually showed itself on a screen.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So in other words, the body was doing what it would do if the picture was, it was 6 seconds before. As they decoded this information even further and began to look at the information traffic in the body, we came into some new understanding. The part of our physiology that was responding to the upcoming picture, the first part of our physiology to respond to that upcoming picture was our heart. Then the brain, then the two coupled together.
Cool.
Showed up. So the sequence of information and traffic in the body was heart, brain, heart-brain together picture.
Wow.
So that's a way you can look at, well, what does that mean? Is that spirit? Well, who knows? But it's an effect of something that relates to capacities that we very well may have that allow us to sense beyond the normal parameters that we have of time and space. That it's in another dimension of understanding of that. It's not confined by time and by space. At the end of that study, in the conclusion, just the part I usually read first, it says that it appears we may be scanning for future events. Our physiology does this all the time, and that we are simply not aware of it. And then in the future, as we develop ourselves, as we evolve as human beings, that this would be a capacity that could become something that we are aware of, that could be utilized to help us make decisions. Cool.
Or go to Vegas. So talk to me about, you use the phrase, as we develop our abilities. Talk to me about, and I'm going to assume sort of that part of that collective development of abilities is part of the Global Coherence Initiative. Talk to me a little bit about the Global Coherence Initiative and what your intentions and what your goals are.
Sure, but let me, before I do that, let me just take this back to groundedness for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about the wide understanding of intuition and boundaries of time and space and all of that. In these times, what evolves us the most right now is learning how to better regulate and utilize the magnificent gift we have of our emotions. That's the key. That's the missing X factor. Many people develop the mind and try to get smarter in the memorization of facts. People desire spiritual experiences of different kinds. They want to have the bigger understanding of the cosmos. One of the missing X factors is that we really don't spend as much time trying to figure out how do we take this great gift of emotion, which is in fact a gift, and use it in ways that accelerate our growth. Instead, we often see emotions as reactions to the events of life only, and we don't put as much emphasis on emotional choice. It is something very important right now, and that's where the heart and heart intelligence comes in handy. It's one of its primary benefits. Heart intelligence embraces and wraps its nice, warm, loving arms around emotional intelligence. It gives us the ability to have our reactions, but to shift them. It gives us the ability to make emotional choices that accelerate us in consciousness and begin to create the new understandings. But we can't skip that step. That's important for us right now. Individual is to learn how to better regulate our emotions, not suppress, but learn how to make better emotional choices as we go. So, with that said, one of the aspects of our work is something called the Global Coherence Initiative, and it's something that we started as part of our nonprofit activities about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. What we did is we formed an organization similar to many organizations that are already in existence and do great work, where we bring people together from all around the world, and in our context, to use our heart focus to help planetary consciousness from the chaos and confusion and distortion to more cooperation, harmony, and really enduring peace. So an energetic way of creating positive change and influence in the world. So again, many organizations do something similar. That's why we get messages all the time about, synchronous meditations and various activities that groups do. We're simply making our contribution to that. In addition, though, we brought a scientific element to that type of process. And what we have been looking at is this. We're between all living interconnected and communicating and sharing information in unseen ways. One of those ways we believe is through our relationship to the Earth's energetic fields. Planet Earth has energetic fields that surround it. They are protective layers that allow life as we know it to exist. Without these fields, nothing could exist. They protect us from what I'll generically call space weather, which is solar winds, cosmic rays, that type of activity, space activity. So these fields are a part of the Earth as a living system. Think of them as maybe energetic ecology in a way. Mm-hmm. There are two primary fields, the geomagnetic field and the ionosphere, and they work together to create this protective layer. Now, it's well known through research that's been ongoing for many years that these fields, as they change, affect human health and behavior. Okay. That's already well known. And there's some great information about that, and we contribute to that understanding as well. So we know that affecting human health and behavior. So we are doing, there was a paper published just yesterday. I don't have it at my desk right now, but a major HeartMath paper was published. Connectivity on seeing in our heart rhythm patterns and our emotional states with a group of over 150 people scattered around the world, synchronized and showing similar effects physiologically and psychologically in relationship to changes in the geomagnetic field.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause here for just a second because your internet cut out just a wee bit, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding this because I think this is huge. So what this new paper basically says is that we respond to changes in the geomagnetic field on a physiological and psychological level.
In similar ways, regardless of geographical location.
Okay. So something like a solar flare then, and this whole like people that have like the solar flare app on their phone and they're going, oh, I'm feeling depressed today, must be a solar flare, that's actually a thing.
What happens is a geomagnetic of that. There's an effect that happens that can occur relative to a change that occurred in that field. So we appear to be synchronized globally to changes occurring in these fields. Now, this initiative from a scientific standpoint is this. We know the fields affect us. Is it possible that we are in fact also affecting the fields? That mass human emotion, going back to emotion now, mass human or negative could be having an effect on those fields that then in turn would be having an effect on global society, right? Mm-hmm. So we know, for example, that there have been incidents with other people doing measurements that have shown when big events happen, like 9/11, for example. Roger Nelson in his Global Coherence, he has a Global Coherence project network using something called random number generators to do measurements.
Mm-hmm.
What we have done is we've taken this, our scientists, working scientists, have created very sensitive technology. See, my connection dropped a little. Very sensitive technology that can measure subtle changes occurring in these energetic fields, and creating what's called the Global Coherence monitoring system around the world.
Mm-hmm.
We are putting sensor sites in strategic locations around our planet, all feeding data back to our research labs here in Northern California. We have a sensor site in Northern Canada. We have one in Saudi Arabia. We have another one in South Africa. We have another one in New Zealand, and we're putting another one in Colombia soon. And so what we're doing is we're looking and measuring all these fields and what's going on in the fields. So we can see, we can academic literature about we can do more research like we just did around the effects these fields are having on us. And then we can continue to work towards proving whether the hypothesis is right or not about our. Now, there are other people involved in this besides me, certainly the HeartMath scientists and some of the other HeartMath staff here. But we also have outside people that are involved, whether they're on the scientific advisory board or the general advisory board. Some of those are people that your class may know, other authors like Greg Braden.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another one is Jack Canfield. Yeah. And when we started this and Jack agreed to be on the advisory board, he said to me that day, this goes back a while now, it's like 7 or 8 years ago, but he said, this could be the most important experiment in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, because if it is, you'd be showing scientifically, like every single thought, feeling, attitude, meditation, prayer, affirmation, whatever we do, has a measurable effect on the earth itself. Change a lot in terms of as human beings.
That's a pretty my mind goes to a couple of things. First of all, I'm thinking about Thumper and Bambi saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And then I'm thinking about the obligation and responsibility that comes from knowing this information, and how, the thing I've been talking about with my people all year long is that we're in a cycle now where it's pedal to the metal time, that we can know about the power of consciousness, which is nice to know, but we have to be doing it, meaning we have to really, with great awareness, begin to recognize and live as though every moment of our existence isn't just about us, but it's impacting the world, or at least adding to the impact on the world.
That's right.
Okay, so we all need to eat chocolate.
I love what you said. Could not agree more. I mean, we're living in a time period during our lifetimes. It's, it's a window of time. I don't know how long. I could estimate, 100, 150 years or whatever, where we are in a window of opportunity to create a whole new world, unlike anything we've ever seen before. Now, in the context of that, we are in a window of time right now. Not about 100 years, 150 years. I'm talking about today. Where there's a time for advancement. There's an opportunity to catch a wave of moving and advancing in our own personal growth and our own contributions to the evolution of humankind and the earth itself. That's happening right now. So I'm like you. I don't want to waste this opportunity. I came here to be on planet Earth to help create a change. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not getting any younger. I'm still full of
Me either.
I'm still full of life. I'm still full of energy. I'm still in good health, and I'm still have a hunger and a desire to grow and to change and to contribute. So I'm trying to put 100% into that. And it starts with me. That's an old saying. It all starts with us. Well, it does. And I need to continue to refine myself, continue to make changes, continue to challenge my own ego and my own ego perceptions, continue to align more with a bigger mission and not so much with my ambition. All these are things that I spend time and consciousness on every single day. And then I try to give what I can from what I learn, not as some big teacher or something, but just as a guy who's like doing the best he can to grow and then, you know, and put it out there. What I'm really interested in today, and all the work in HeartMath relates to it, is one of the things that I see, Karen, is I see a momentum already taking place and growing of people manifesting more heart qualities in how they think and feel, make decisions, interact, all of that stuff. And I call that an add heart momentum or add heart movement that's taking place. Adding heart with in whatever ways that shows up to whatever you do, right? So I'm all about right now trying to facilitate this add heart movement to help people find more of that inside themselves and then to give them ways in which they can share it. And that's what's most important to me. If it comes in through the Global Coherence Initiative door, that's great. If programs that we have, that's great too. If it comes in through me exchange with a link to it, that's good too. However it shows up.
So I want to, first of all, I would say, I think you're doing a great job, and I am deeply grateful for everything that you have been sharing and for all of your commitment to adding heart to the world, because I think you've been a tremendous nexus of transmission for the planet. So thank you for that. And sure. I think that this message and the potential of this emerging research, I would hope that for everybody listening, that this becomes the place of, first of all, recognizing that you're not powerless over the circumstances on the planet, that simply getting up and consciously creating for yourself a good day isn't selfish. It's actually one of the most selfless acts that you can commit. And that's part of creating, I think, a shifting energy on the planet. And I would say that, well, I'll just say the more the merrier. I like this. This is just the more the merrier. I think we're getting there. And I certainly, I was joking with one of my students the other day, I used to get Abraham Hicks CDs, on cassettes, that's dates me, they would come once a month in the mail. And this whole idea of being able to consciously craft your future and to consciously craft the future of the world and not knowing whether consciousness really was making a difference or not, and having research now that sort of, I think, affirms, I'm certain for everybody listening on this call, what I think maybe in our hearts, in the intuition of our hearts, we've always kind of known was true, is beautiful and maybe kind of validating for some of us who've been doing this for 25, 30, 40 years. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you. Sure. I want to ask you, first of all, how people are interested in being a part of this Global Coherence Initiative. How can they join you in this?
Here's the number one recommendation that I would have right now for this, if people can want to do this. And I think this will work with your course too, Karen. I don't think it takes away in any way. Mm-hmm. We have a program that people can get. It's not that expensive. It's some expense, but not a lot. It's called the Add Heart Facilitator Program. And in this program, basically what you get a physical box. It's really pretty. I don't know if I have one in my office.
I have one. Hang on. I'll get mine.
It's a box, and in that box, you get a beautiful little workbook. You get the Inner Balance Trainer sensor. Inner Balance Trainer is our technology. It trains us how to become more coherent. There you go. So you get the sensor. You get in the box. You get a little workbook, and then there's a card in that workbook. And on the back of that card, it gives you access to a URL with a learning management system. And in that learning management system, there are 6 short audio chapters. And you take a little course. It takes about a total of, each of the 6 little classes is about 15 minutes long. So we're talking, 3 hours or something of total material. it teaches a core heart math technique, which you've read about in the books, heart lock-in. It takes people through it slowly so that they can really get a feeling of each step. Mm-hmm. It has a class in there about how to use your inner balance trainer, what to do with it, and all of that. And then the rest of this course is about sharing. How do you put this out to the world? How do you share this technique and or this technology with your children? How do you share it if you were a doctor and you want to start your session with a patient? How do you share it if you lead a yoga class? And so we encourage people to share. And what we do at the very end is we give people a designation. People that finish the course become an approved AdHeart facilitator that links you into the family of other trained people. All of our coaches and trainers and certified health professionals, all that, we all participate together in one group, like a Facebook group, for example. Mm-hmm. We all operate there. And we have monthly calls that we do and things like that. And AdHeart facilitators become part of that. So it's like a really great first step into the ecosystem of all the HeartMath certification programs, but we welcome everybody in. You know, the AdHeart facilitators are just as important as the master trainers, right? You know, mm-hmm. There are people that have said, we want to add more heart to our lives and the lives of others, and they've taken the training program. It's something that I'm excited about. The retail price on this is $299, but you get the sensor, and the sensor is $160 if you mm-hmm. just bought it, right? So you're getting the course and the sensor. I did a lot of the reading on the audio programs, but also brought in Dr. Deborah Rosman, the CEO of HeartMath, Dr. Roland McCready, who is the Director of Research, Tricia Hoffman, one of our master trainers and coaches that coaches at the highest level, talking about how she shares with other people. So there's a lot of great information there. And I think what's most important is that it's a little bit more formalized step in jumping into the AdHeart movement from the HeartMath side. You know, mm-hmm. much bigger than us. I mean, it's a global movement. It far exceeds anything we do, but we play a role in it, and it links you up with that. And so that, again, could sound like this great big product pitch that he just did, you know, and in a sense, maybe it is. But my feeling about wanting you to take it is that I think it is going to be helpful in both your personal growth and in your ability to share with others. And it's the core of why I do what I do.
Good. So I just want to add really quickly just a short story, and then I'd like to, if you have time, take just a couple of questions. I know my people are wanting to ask you a bunch of questions. They were asking questions for you, even Guy here. So, sure. But I have a perfectionistic 8-year-old who has a tendency towards panic, especially if she has to take a test or be assessed at school, because they assess them a lot at school. And she got up one morning and was very anxious about school. So I said, well, let's plug you into the little, I have the HeartMath app and the sensor. And I taught her the whole technique of breathing and watching the little cycle thing in the app. And I just want to say that we now have regular fights over who gets to sit with the heart monitor and gets to have experiences with the app. She loves this. And
that's great.
It has just become such a source of empowerment for her to be able to consciously get herself to a good space, and has really changed the nature of her, I think, her quality of her anxiety around school. So thank you for that. So,
it may not matter to her, sorry to interrupt you, but just my heart says to tell her that I appreciate that and what she's doing.
I will tell. I can't wait to tell her that now she's adding to it. She
sure is. She's doing good work, and I would appreciate her for what she's doing. Yeah, that's wonderful.
So good. So I'm going to go through here and scroll through some of these questions, because I know, and Cindy, I don't know if you can remember where they are, and I don't have my glasses on, so you know.
Okay, well, Sharon asks, I heard we have a brain in our heart. Could you explain?
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah, what is the brain in our heart, Howard?
Okay, well, it's a very complex nervous system in the heart, and they call it the little brain in the heart. It consists of neurons, proteins, and support cells, and it's distributed throughout the heart. You know, you have in one of my PowerPoint shows, it shows a little dot sort where it's sort of distributed throughout the entire heart. It is a very complex nervous system. It is learning, it's remembering, it's sending information throughout the entire body. It sends information all the way to the highest perceptual centers of the brain. The heart is communicating. Now definitively know that over time together that the heart is a important information processing center in the body. This is not pseudoscience in any way. It's actually studied through a medical field called neurocardiology. It's well known, it's well documented that we have this complex nervous system. Next to our brain, it is the most complex aspect of the nervous system that we actually have.
Wow. So cool. So we have a heart brain.
A little heart brain, yeah.
So good.
Sharon also asks, how do we keep up our heart resonance when things don't seem to be appearing in our outer reality?
Well, you have to, that's the tricky one. Everybody kind of in our society today wants immediacy. You know, we want everything right now. We're conditioned to it. We cut it on our computer, we want it on now. You know, we want to change stations on our TV, we want it to do now. And then that trickles over into so many things, whether it's traffic or how quickly we get our food in a restaurant or whatever. And we want change to happen. A lot of times it doesn't come exactly when we want it to. One of the keys to that is, I'll give you several. One would be, first of all, patience. A way of defining patience would be, patience is the art of intelligently waiting.
Ah, I like that.
It's a Doc Childry quote, a HeartMath founder. Art of intelligent waiting, right? So you got to be patient. Secondly is be kind to yourself. Don't expect results, especially if it's major things that you're working on, to necessarily happen right away. And that patience and that self-love can set the stage for something else to occur. The other thing I'll say about it is that timing is interesting. A lot of times we don't necessarily get what we want when we think we want it, but instead we get it when it's at a highest, best place in our life for us. Mm-hmm. And that's the patience we have to cultivate. That takes sensitivity. It takes a deeper heart connection where we find the self-security that says it's okay. I can be patient. It's okay. I can love myself through this. It's okay. I'll trust that it'll show up in my life in whatever way it shows up at the right time. I will also, and the last thing I'll say about this is things that I've wanted in my life that I've worked for that became fulfilling were never exactly what I thought I wanted. It was always something better. And it was always a surprise, right? And because it was a surprise, it made the fulfillment that much more enriched. You know, I never set out to be a published author. You know, I never thought about that. I didn't think I could. It wasn't like an ambition. You know, I didn't sit around going, gosh, I wish someday I could be an author. And I need to write a book because I want to share with people. Never was. It came about through a complete side door. And I ended up co-authoring the HeartMath Solution, which has become, you know, a bestseller and considered the definitive work on heart intelligence. That was not because I was sitting around trying to be an author. It was because it happened, you know. And I think it happened because I was focusing on what I think is more important than being an author, which is being a better man. Mm. So that's an example. So be patient with yourself. Whoever asked the question, and give yourself a little kindness, a little love in that process, and then see what unfolds.
Beautiful. I love that. So somebody asked, and this is, I think, a very interesting question. What about people who have heart transplants? Doctors have not yet figured out how to connect the heart to the brain. Do these networks grow back or form naturally, or are people who have had a heart transplant, do they have a permanent brain-heart disconnection?
It's a good question. The answer is this, is that the heart communicates in more ways than just through the nervous system. And in most cases, the nerves never grow back. So there's no traditional neurological communication happening between the heart and the brain with someone who's had a heart transplant. But the heart also communicates biophysically. The blood pressure wave created by the squeezing of the heart also influences brain function. The heart also produces hormones. Oxytocin, for example, is produced by the heart, the love hormone. So there's a biochemical communication. The last way, which we haven't discussed today, is the energetic communication. The heart produces an energetic field, electromagnetic field. That field goes to every single cell in our bodies, including our brain. It's actually has enough power in the field that it creates an electromagnetic field that extends beyond our skin out into space, about 3 to 4 feet. That field changes all the time depending upon what emotions we are experiencing. And to me, that energetic communication is probably the most powerful one because it goes beyond the skin into space. That measurement is just being made with very traditional conservative research equipment, magnetometers, which measure electromagnetic fields. But what if you look at it beyond that type of measurement? Then the possibilities become huge of where that information goes. So I've had conversations with people that have heart transplants, and I find them in many cases to be so loving. And I had to ask myself that same question. If their heart's not connected through their brain neurologically, how are they feeling so much love for their grandkids? Got nothing to do
Maybe
with
there's something there that we need to really look at.
Right. So you can only measure heart to a certain point, you know, and again, I'll just reiterate and say that the energetic communication is probably where the most information is actually being exchanged. It's the least understood, but it's probably where the real action is.
Good. So I just want to take a minute and sum up some of the points that we've covered. We talked about how, first of all, the heart is intuitive, right? So take your heart to Vegas if you want. The heart is intuitive. I'm kidding. That our hearts, our psychology, our emotional well-being are collectively impacted by changes in the geomagnetic field, that we can potentially be looking at new research that shows that maybe we also, our own hearts, our own emotional energy impacts the geomagnetic field, and that we could be potentially impacting the entire world simply by the way we show up for our life on a minute-by-minute basis.
Absolutely.
Good. And that the heart has its own intelligence, makes its own hormones, that the power of the heart is maybe not only in the physiology of the heart, which of course we need, but that there are greater fields of influence that the heart plays a vital role in, that ultimately helps us not only sense and feel each other, but even potentially facilitates for us deepening our connection to each other from a place of compassion and divine siblinghood. How's that?
Yep. No, you did a great job. Next time you just tell them that, and I don't have to show up.
Well, but we love to hear you. So
no,
I want
thank you.
to thank you so much for once again sharing your time with us so generously, for being here. Again, you guys, I don't know if you all see this. This is the Add Heart Facilitator program. Cindy has put the link in the chat here on the webinar, and if you want to put that on Facebook too. Get this, no matter what you do, this is a great set of skills that you can take with you into any practice that you have, particularly if you're serving people. Just a cool thing you can offer people. I just want to say it also comes with a great sticker that I put on the back of my car. Yeah. And everybody wants to know, what's that sticker mean? I'm like, look,
believe it or not.
So I again just want to thank you all for joining us. Those of you on the webinar listening, those of you on Facebook listening, I appreciate you all so much and so deeply. And you know, it's February, it's Heart Month, so you know, I always like to say from my heart to yours, thank you so much for being here. And again, Howard, thank you very much.
Well, Karen, thank you very much. Before you go, just let me say that I don't know how it fits into your curriculum and what you do with your students and all that. But if you ever wanted to bring me back to answer questions about the Add Heart Facilitator or about the Add Heart movement or things that I'm seeing, I'd be happy to do that. You know, happy to do what I can there. And I'll be down in LA this weekend. I'm speaking at the Conscious Living Expo there. If you're in Southern California, drop by and say hey. But thank you for having me. I'm sorry I'm late. I hope I made up for it.
You totally made up for it. And, you know, we were in divine timing or impatient, and we were using our intelligent patience. So we're our intelligent waiting. So we were in fine. So thanks
for what you do. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.